So I've got my friend Gottfried Mocker here of the Chamonix Wine Farm, and he's brought along some of their wines to pair with our dish. So Gottfried, thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I actually brought two very interesting wines with tonight, and I think something that you might find very interesting. I actually went and selected a 2012 Chardonnay Reserve. Chardonnay is really what we're known for and what we've done for a long time. And as you know, we make Chardonnay in a very traditional style. Very much in the old world style. For us, Chardonnay is really about maturation potential. So we believe our Chardonnays, they drink well for 10 to 12 years. And as you know, that because Chardonnay is such a neutral variety, when it ages, it really gets that secondary flavors. And then I think it really becomes interesting food wine. So yeah, maybe you'll like to see what it can do.
What was your first Chardonnay vintage?
My first one was actually 2002. So I've done my 13th crush now with Chamonix. So I guess I'm to some extent part of the furniture by now.
And in terms of the aging, do you still have Chardonnays from, well, maybe not from 2002, but you could sort of like see the aging potential of Chardonnay? Or, I mean, over the years, obviously your style have changed as well.
Yeah. No, well, your style always changes because we always reinvent ourselves. But I mean, I've still got Chardonnays from the first vintage, from 2002, from every vintage I've kept wine back. And so you get a very good idea of the potential. But I think what people also need to understand is that with Chardonnay is that it's got a lot to do with your site. So you need to be very much involved in farming, your approach to agriculture. We tend to follow a bit more organic approach. And so we try to make also very site-specific Chardonnays. And I think our Chardonnays with age, really becomes very individual, very specific in its style. And normally if you taste a Chardonnay like this, you see they become very rich and quite spicy. And we always talk about this marzipan-like flavors. And I think it just becomes very spectacular wines. And, in the beginning they can be quite tight and austere, but with a bit of time they really become such an explosive wine. So it's really interesting.
I think it really goes with, I pick up, it almost enhances even the prawn flavor. I know it's difficult when it comes to, especially peppers, But this red pepper, we've cooked it down, so it's reduced. We mixed it with, blended it with some chili and garlic, reduced it down, and then balanced the flavor with butter.
Yeah.
And I think, especially butter and creaminess as well. But there's obviously, it cuts through that slight sweetness that's in the sauce. Yeah. And for me, it picks up quite well with the cheese, especially.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to comment on, was the cheese, because cheese is always difficult to match with wine. And it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. It just seems to really make it even softer and richer. And what's nice about the texture of the wine, I love the energy that's coming out in the wine at the moment.
I love how you talk about energy of wine. That's, I don't hear that a lot.
Yeah. No, I just think, wine is always alive. We take it from something and we produce something else, but we also want it to change. We want to be, there must be an evolution. This is not a sterile product that we're talking about. We want this to, people buy wines to say, this is what it tastes like now, and this is what's going to happen to the wine in 5 or 10 years from now. And I think for me, I love to open wines and to kind of have a bit of that surprise to say, well, you know what, I didn't expect this in the wine. And I think one of the reasons why I really love Burgundy, for that matter, so much, especially Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, is because it's one of those wines that you can never pinpoint. It's one of those wines that if it has a bit of age or it has a bit of development, it's so difficult to say, well, this is what the wine actually tastes like, because there's so much actually going on. It's so much thin layered style of wines. There is so much different types of flavor, and it always evolves. That's why you'll see normally with Chardonnay or Pinot, we also tend to drink it out of a ballon also. It just gives it more oxygen and there's just more development happening.
Let's see the other wine.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. Because we're having something that's more seafood based, I always found that if you have an older Pinot Noir, something that is, say, 5, 8, maybe 10 years old, and you chill it a little bit, it works wonderful with seafood. And people don't always, people don't always try that, but it really works wonderful. Give it out of a big glass, chill it a little bit, and try it with you know, with seafood, or you can even have it with any meal that is quite fresh. It works wonderful.
So you can already see on the color that, you know,
Yeah.
the age of the wine.
Yeah, the age is there. But I think what you find now, you get this really soft, velvety texture in the Pinot Noir. And I always say, for me now, you know, it loses a little bit of that, you know, the fresh primary fruit. But now it really starts showing its sight, it starts showing its minerality, you know, slight forest floor characters coming through, an edge of mushroominess. So it's really wonderful wines to drink when it's a bit aged.
And Pinot Noir, also, what was your first vintage at Chamonix?
Actually also 2002. Although I was never blessed with such older vineyards at Chamonix with Pinot. So we did a lot of plantings when I started there. Today I think we do, our most predominant red we plant on the property is Pinot Noir, and then with Chardonnay as well. And in the last years I started Cabernet Franc projects, because we found that Cabernet Franc also works wonderful. We seem to get that same red, I always talk about the stone fruit and this really brightness of flavor, and it really works well with Cabernet Franc as well.
But listen, let's talk a little bit about the farm. What else is happening on the farm? What other type of activities? I know there's accommodation on the farm as well. I started to work on that farm. You know, that's how I got into the industry in the first place. I worked in a restaurant that was based on the farm, and I got the job through my mum, actually. You know, what other plans are going for Chamonix?
I think it's with Chamonix. We naturally know we've always had a restaurant and the accommodation. But quite a few years ago, we also have spring water bottling. We do a lot of water bottling. It's a very rich area for great quality water. So we've got 2 certified springs on the property. So we do a lot of spring water bottling. But I think what is also interesting, we've started quite a new vineyard projects on the property, where we did something that they do similar to the Northern Rhone, and in the old parts of Burgundy still, which today is not so common, but in the old days used to do it, and also in the Mosel area is the one-pole system, the pergola. And we started finding areas within the mountain where it's less grey-wake soils, but also more sandstone soils, where we're doing this one-pole system of varieties. So, and it's very steep. We do terraces. So it's been quite an extreme project that we've been doing. But the idea for us is, because we've now made Pinot and Chardonnay from a few parcels, so it's just been, you know, very standard. That was the Chamonix style. We want to also do something that is more single vineyard varieties, where we talk even more about what is site specific, you know.
But listen, thanks. You know, I don't really have to pick a one. I can have both and I can enjoy it with this risotto, but I'm going to pick one.
And have a rosé.
Godfrey, thanks for bringing, especially this beautiful 2007 Pinot Noir. I mean, accept it now. You are one of the top Pinot Noir makers in the country. Come on, let's cheers to that.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. And I really love to be with you and talk about wine. And thank you for having me. It was great.
You know what's awesome? I love the passion, but above all of that, you can hear just the knowledge of why you do what you do, and that's great. So for me, I mean, really, I love the Chardonnay, but I've just been, mesmerized by this Pinot Noir, so I'm going to go with that.
So now you're a real Pinot-phile,
yeah,
so
yeah.
join the club.
So thank you very much. Thanks for making the time. It's really awesome. It's been great.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.